There is a weight in your chest that no amount of achievement seems to lift. You can do everything right, tick every box, and still find a silent scream waiting for you in the middle of a crowded room. This feeling stems from the persona, the social mask you have spent decades polishing until it shone brightly enough to blind you to your own reflection. You are currently living in a house built by someone else. You walk through its corridors and sleep in a bed designed for a person you have never met, because your identity has been molded entirely by external collective expectations. When you succeed as this persona, you feel like a fraud, because the safety and the rewards belong to the mask. The actual person underneath remains a stranger to the life they've built. Beneath the polish is a driving anxiety, the fear that if the world saw your unfiltered, raw self, you would be abandoned. This creates a psychological gridlock. You are trapped in a state of permanent paralysis, caught between the hunger for authenticity and the crushing necessity of social conformity. Eventually, the mask becomes a master. You become a ghost inhabiting a suit of armor that is slowly rusting shut, leaving you immobilized within your own defense. By choosing this static safety, you sacrifice your psychological depth. You trade the complexity of a real life for the hollow comfort of the crowd. To find a way out, you have to look beneath the floorboards of the persona, at what has been scratching there in the dark. Carl Jung challenged the idea of a single, unified self. He proposed that the psyche is actually a kingdom of warring factions, where different parts of our nature are constantly vying for control. The outer ring represents your persona. It actively constricts, forcing any unacceptable traits into a dense, hidden core Jung called the shadow. This inner core contains your aggression and wildness, traits that, when refined, become creative drive. Burying the instinct buries its potential. By classifying your raw nature as dangerous, you have started an internal war. Your social survival now requires you to reject the parts of yourself that make you effective. Maintaining this separation is exhausting. It takes immense daily energy to keep the shadow buried while keeping the persona polished. Repressing these traits does not eliminate them, it simply starves them of expression. This is the central paradox. The raw, untamed instincts you fear are actually the engine of your vitality. Without that primal energy, there is no momentum. When you suffocate your darkest impulses, you inadvertently extinguish your life-giving energy. You cannot kill the beast without killing the source of your strength. The more flawless and compliant the social mask becomes, the more hollow the human underneath grows. You become good at the cost of being alive. Friedrich Nietzsche forces a confrontation with this stagnation. Society demands that you be morally good by its standards, but Nietzsche demands that you be whole. He sees the repression of instincts not as a virtue, but as a sickness. He calls for the Übermensch, the individual who creates their own values from the ashes of their repressed instincts. This person doesn't destroy their darker nature, they command it. True psychological health comes from the courage to harness the very instincts you were told to bury. You don't become better by being less, you become better by being more. Integration is not a peaceful epiphany. It is a difficult descent into the basement of your own soul, with a flickering candle and the courage to look at what is hiding in the corners. You must stop running from your own reflection and start examining exactly what you have buried beneath the floorboards. The paradigm shifts when you stop asking, "Who should I be?" and finally start asking, "What have I repressed?" The mask is a useful tool, but it is a lethal master. The man who forgets he is wearing one eventually becomes the hollow plastic from which it was carved. When you stop fearing the darkness within, you stop being a victim of the darkness without. Integration is the only path to a self that is truly whole.